Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. Here we go. Welcome to PHCC Connect, special edition of the Trade Talks podcast. And man, it's great to be here with PHCC and get to do what I do. But before we get into all that, how old were you when you started getting into plumbing, or what made you want to get into plumbing?
My dad forced me. 10 years old, and wanted to watch cartoons on a Saturday, and my dad would just drag me out and put me in a truck, crying some mornings. So there was no sitting around, just indoctrinated immediately into it.
My son was about 13, so he knows exactly how you feel.
No, and then later on, I think it was 15 or 16, about to enter high school, and Dad said, you need to pick a career. And I said, I thought watching cartoons was a career.
Hey, that's a great job.
Yeah. But God bless him, and he's still with us. I took a mechanical drafting course. I took an electronics course, and now I can kind of wire my own boilers. I can read schematics. So the man knew what he was telling me to do. He was right.
And the good thing is, I mean, and look, the big word on the street today is AI. AI is not going to be installing plumbing, pipes, fixtures, anything like that anytime soon.
No, the one thing about our career is it's still hands-on. And I think a lot of failures with the younger people is the communication skills that unfortunately they're not raised with. So the communication skills we have to work on, but they do want to do this career. I'm talking to a lot of people this week, and it's way up. The applicants to do trade school is way up, and that's very heartening to see. So there's a future.
Look, I completely agree. Every time I come to these shows, I run into somebody that says, oh my gosh, you're the reason I got into the trades. I watched your videos, or you made me a better tradesman, or thanks to you, I've decided to start my own company. So the information we're all putting out is working, and it's helping.
The message is getting there.
It is.
Yeah, the two teachers that we gave awards to for Instructors of the Year, both are making such an impact, and both of them told me that there's a waiting list to get into their programs. So that's kind of what gives me that. And I was at SkillsUSA in Atlanta.
I was there.
I saw you. And 6,500 high school-aged students working with their hands. I mean, when I saw a couple of young fellas mixing concrete, I was blown away.
Now, I'm not going to brag any, but just the team competition was won by students that were at Belton High School and involved with TSTC.
Wow, yeah.
So, look, very proud of them. I think that was phenomenal. And and I've talked about this already, but the Apprentice competition is amazing. Not just here, SkillsUSA, the UA, that everybody's got their Apprentice competitions. And we've got a young man here went to World. We've got others getting ready for it that are like, look, these guys are phenomenal. And I say, guys, it's young men, young women, both. There's, I believe, 17 plumbers and 6 HVAC people.
Correct.
Here.
Yes. Yeah.
And to get over there and watch them, and I remember going to PHCC Connect in Milwaukee, Wisconsin about 7 years ago. And I was there with a marketing company, and they invited me up to talk to plumbers because I speak plumbing.
Yeah.
And right across the aisleway from me was the Apprentice competition, and it blew my mind. I'm a very competitive guy. I was in high school sports.
Yeah.
And if I'd have had something like that, I'd have been like, okay, I want to be number one. How do I win this? How do I do this? How do I get better?
Well, that's what, part of what was so awesome about Skills in Atlanta was the camaraderie.
You bet.
Every competitor had the pin from one of the other competitions, and then, of course, the competitiveness. They all wanted to win. And we're the winners because they're the ones that are competing in trades that are going to, provide us future leaders in this industry here. And you mentioned Brady, who went on to World Skills. We found out when we got to France how willfully behind we are in educating these young people. It was, and the man did a great job, but he was really not prepared for that level. Yeah.
A lot of these foreign countries train their tradespeople like engineers.
Yes.
It's beyond what even the best master plumber would think. It's like, oh my God, why did they need to know that?
Well, they didn't have their father dragging them out of the house at 10 years old.
Exactly.
And swinging wrenches when they were 12.
Well,
So,
mine was working a shovel. He could dig a hole 3 feet deep, 3 feet wide, in a matter of a few minutes. So it's like, man, you're going to be good at this. Problem is, when I became an instructor in the union, he got into the union and he went pipe fitting. It's like, whoa, wait. I got you in as a plumber. He said, I changed that real quick.
It's still, at least it's it's right there.
You bet.
Absolutely.
It's pipe, it's fluids. We speak the same language.
Yes.
So tell me about PHCC and what it is, because every time I come here, I meet the most amazing people. I meet people I've met before. I saw Todd Allred walk by a while ago. Met Todd in Milwaukee, and he remembered me later. And it's just PHCC, the camaraderie, the education behind it, the skills behind it, everything that y'all do, it's phenomenal. How does this help a company? Say I've got somebody watching that they're an open shop company. They're trying to figure everything out on their own, which is impossible to do because I tried it.
Yeah.
How does PHCC?
I can give you my personal story.
Yeah, no, I'd love that.
I was invited to hear Dan Holohan speak, who was the steam guru. And I went to the event, and when I got there, I found out it was not Dan Holohan speaking so much. It was a PHCC of Long Island event. And I'm sitting in that room, and I'm listening to Dan Holohan speak about steam, and I'm looking around at all the other contractors. I'm going, I'm in competition with him and those guys.
And they're here.
And they're here. Yeah. And why aren't they kicking each other's butt? So
and here's the thing about that.
They got along.
They're shaking hands. They're talking. They're
having a beer and they're getting along.
What we did.
So I joined immediately. And I listened for the next 3 to 4 years. And every night I would come home with a different idea or tidbit on how to be a businessman. Dad taught me all the plumbing. Those guys really honed my skills on the business development. And I owe the PHCC a lot of my success to those meetings.
Now, you look like a wiser guy than me, so you probably learn a lot in the classrooms and stuff like that. But see, I have figured out you can learn a lot sitting at the bar after the event's
100%,
over.
100%. Yes, you can.
I mean, don't just go to bed and think, man, I've learned everything. You can build some amazing relationships with people that will talk to you and tell you what they're doing, why they do it, how they did it, what mistakes they made, so you don't have to.
Yeah, and then, it wasn't long before I think I stepped out of the room at a meeting, and they nominated me, and I came back and I was congratulated. So I wound up being the Long Island chapter president, and then I followed on my way onto national. And this is a family. I am so close with so many people across the country because of this, and we share ideas and exchange problems and concerns. And how's the family who had a baby? It's more than just a plumbing association. It's a real religion for us. We see each other.
So Joe, do me a favor. Take just a second. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I am Joe Cornetta. I am the outgoing, in another day, national president. It's been an incredible ride. I think I'm leaving the place a little better than when I got here. And I took on every challenge that I could. Even as late as yesterday afternoon, I was still trying to work out some disputes with chapters and vendors. I don't want to just walk out the door. So it's in my
You didn't just tell them wait 2 days and somebody else will take care of that for you.
I'm still working on that.
That's tonight after happy hour.
It's important to me to just try and make this place better.
No, I love that. I really do.
It is.
And me coming to PHCC and seeing what I saw, 7 years ago, and seeing it again this year, it's grown. It is literally that there not only is there more people, there's more vendors here set up. I tell people every day there's new tools, materials, equipment, and technology coming out every day. This is where you get to see it. This is where you get to learn about it. This is where you get to touch it and play with it.
Spend the one-on-one time with the vendors.
It's huge.
Yes, which I'm still doing. I just left mowing, and I says I got to get my techs the mowing training. So I'm going to head back over there shortly. So you don't finish. You just keep moving.
Again, another thing I talk about, anybody who gets into the trades, one piece of advice I give them all the time is never stop learning.
Absolutely, yeah.
How long have you been in the trades?
Well, my business is celebrating its 80th year. So I'm third generation. So that puts me, help me do the math here, 50 years almost.
50 years.
Yeah.
And you know everything by now, right?
I'm a teacher now. Actually, I do want to start teaching. Not so much in the classroom, but I volunteered to go back to SkillsUSA next year, and if I could work on the inside of the ropes with those young technicians, apprentices, I would jump at the opportunity.
I love that because at SkillsUSA and even here, I get to go behind the ropes and video.
Yeah.
They're like, Roger, don't talk to anybody or anything. I'm like, oh God, no. I want to just shoot video. To see what they're doing blows my mind. But I love that because I never thought about me being an instructor. But when I was in the union a few years, somebody from the school reached out and said, hey, look, we'd like you to come be an instructor.
Yeah.
I didn't go through their program. I came up open shop. And I'm like, why do y'all want me to be an instructor here? And they said, Roger, you teach kids on the job the right way to do things. And they come in here and talk about it.
Yeah, they do.
And we want you here.
And they can immediately detect if you're a phony or not.
Right.
And you're not. And nor am I. And then you got their attention and they're tuned in. And that's important, because I was not, you already said it, I was not the best student.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting in the back of the class.
Failed.
Yeah, I would have failed.
Except for the competition. Then I've been like, okay, wait, I got to pass to do the competition. Okay, there's my bone out in front of me.
Exactly, yeah. So it's a wonderful career, and the opportunities are just endless. So that's all I want young people to realize. The opportunities are endless.
Okay, so you've been in it 50 years. I've been in it 44 years. I started plumbing in 1980. This video is sponsored by High Level. For your 30-day free trial, go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield. Let's talk about technology then.
Did you read my article?
No, I didn't. Was there any technology then? I mean,
yeah,
the greatest technology was a plumb bob and a string.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and Dad said don't use too much oil when you're threading pipe.
There you go. There you go.
The technology is just as you walk over to Viga and see the fittings that they're putting together, and the mega press,
you bet,
and the pro press, and the PEX tubing, and we had none of that back then. We were threading 2-inch galvanized pipe for vent stacks. So it's really come a long way. Now this is the first year they're not doing any open flame at the Apprentice champion.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
So now they're going to lose that skill set, and we needed to wipe a lead joint as apprentices to get our license. So not only is it very rare is somebody taking the acetylene torch out, it's even going to be less now because they don't want the open flame anymore in this environment, and they're not going to be taught that. And that's how you used to grade a young fella: wipe a joint, solder a joint, get that wiped run off there, and don't use too much flux because it made a mess out of everything. So, but the biggest change is just the ease now of being able to perform licensed professional work. I still don't like the way PEX lines look when you string them across the ceiling.
It's not quite the same.
It's not quite the same, but it's what it is now. So we all have to adapt and change.
So in the future, we're going to be testing students at the local state board how well they can squeeze the trigger on the press gun.
They got to figure something out, because if you don't have the skill set, I don't care what you got up here, you need the skill set.
You bet.
Yeah.
And me, and I've had, I go live every Saturday, try to, when I'm in town.
Right.
And literally I've had plumbers reach out across the country and say they won't even allow us to have a torch in our truck. And
Yeah.
I'm like, there are situations where you've got to have it. And they're like, no, there's not.
Yeah, no, there's still moments where we have, our trucks are all equipped with a B tank, because there are some points where you can't get that tool up in the eave or in the crack so it's still very important in our service work every day, but it's less and less and less. I have a wall of copper sweat fittings in my shop, and I'm going to tell you, I haven't bought a copper sweat fitting in 2 years. I'm working off the inventory from 2015 practically, but we still need the fittings, and once in a while.
Now, I got to speak to the apprentices last night at the dinner. And one thing that I tell apprentices, people getting in the trades right now, is each year, for every 10 people that retire, only about 4 are getting back in the trade.
Yeah.
And what I told them last night is, look, I want you to start not thinking about what happens at this competition and what you do here, but when you get back, what is your end game? Do you want to run a company for somebody? Do you want to be a superintendent, which are great careers? If you just want to be a plumber, that's amazing. You can make an amazing living. But I'm telling these kids getting in that with the mindset and the skill sets that they have, they can look at becoming the next entrepreneurs, taking over.
You know, the old school used to say, don't teach them too much because then they're going to go out on their own.
Great.
And yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah.
You know, so if I can bring a young apprentice on and get 3 to 5 or 7 years out of them, I'm thrilled. And then I help them. I can't tell you how many competitors are in my neighborhood that worked in my office. And they would call me, and I would actually help them with the tests. I would give them my notes and my drawings, whatever it took. So I'm not afraid of the competition, and it helps me eventually turn the back nine and play some more golf. Because, you know, if they're not following us, I don't want to push this wagon much longer.
I can get that. How much social media do y'all use with your company?
None. Yeah, none.
Technology is changing. You know that.
I know that. I know that. Look, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to some of this.
And you've told me you've watched my videos.
I have.
But y'all aren't doing social media.
No.
Okay, we got to talk about that.
We do.
You got to work on that.
Well, there's opportunities that are out there.
But every day.
I know that. I know that. But in the grind of an everyday business, it doesn't come into play as often as it should. In my world, it doesn't come into play at all. I'm all, you know, get the job done, let's get on to the next one. Get that service call done, get on to the next one. Oh, somebody called, let me run over there. The social media is going to attract a whole different clientele for us. Mm-hmm. And you're right, I am missing the boat. A lot of our older shops and generations are missing the boat. But we're starting to see it. We're coming around.
The world is changing, which I think is a great thing. I accidentally stumbled into it 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Trying to grow my company because I got tired of getting ripped off by marketing companies. I know that's never happened to you.
No.
Never. Not a marketing company.
We're very fortunate to not even have to do a lot of marketing because we've been in the area for 80 years, so it all kind of comes, fruits of the. We're dealing with the grandchildren of the parents that used to call my grandfather. So we kind of got a nice home-built section of.
And I bet they ask, is he still around?
I had a customer last summer beg me to bring my 90-year-old dad on the job. And I says, I don't know. And he showed up, and they had a cup of coffee together, and she was just relieved to see him. So I get it. The personal family touch is huge. It is.
Anybody watching, if you're working at a company that's been around 80 years,
80 years,
do me a favor, leave a comment down below because I want to reach out to your company owner and talk to them too. I think that's great.
It's a beautiful story. It really is.
So what changes do you see for your company of things that you've learned recently about technology and tools and equipment and things like that? Do you see anything here where you're like, that's something that we've got to look at?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to some of the service providers here. It's time for me to get automated with my service providers with the techs so that they can be plugged right into pricing, schematic, the billing is all taken care of. It's time to get away from. We've gotten away from the paper and pencil, but we got to take it to the next level. And the techs will be more professional out there. They'll be easier to communicate. And I'll be speaking to some of the vendors here today.
And I hate to say it because I tried to stay in paper for a while.
Yeah.
It looks so much better when literally you're talking to a customer, you hand them an iPad and say, hey, do me a favor, sign right here.
Yeah.
And they sign and you're like, thank you very much. And they're like, well, where's my copy? It's like, it's in your inbox.
It's emailed over.
You've already got it.
That works for a lot of the people today. And there's still some people that just want that piece of paper.
There are.
Yeah.
And you can tell them, look, we'll print it and mail it to you.
Yep.
We don't even carry paper copies with us anymore. And
yeah. Once
they get it emailed and they can look at it and then they can print it if they want, they're like, you know what, don't worry about it.
The reason I see it coming so quickly is because when you ask a homeowner when you're done with the service to write a check and they don't have a checkbook. It's all, can I Venmo or Venmo?
Can I Venmo it? Can I PayPal it?
And I'm like, no. So, we'll take the credit cards, but I can see that it's eclipsing me. The technology in that area is eclipsing me, so it's time to catch up.
Now, do y'all have any type CRM where you're emailing, you're texting your customers? I use Go High Level, which is one of my sponsors. It's an amazing product because once I have a customer's database, if I'm running a special on, hey, it's time to have your water heater cleaned, we can run a special certain times of the year, stuff like that.
We have a database probably of 10,000 maybe more of customers, and we're not tapping into that either. Fortunately, our phone rings enough that I haven't needed that.
You bet.
But I'm missing a great opportunity there, and I know it. I see it. I'm missing a great opportunity to build the shop and become a better organization.
That and I love it when people tell me, look, our phone rings. We don't have to market. We don't have to advertise. We don't have to do that, which is wonderful. But could you use 10% more customers next year?
Sure. Yeah.
You've already got them. You've just got to talk to them.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to learn is wow.
Or take the better clientele and pass up some of the.
You bet.
Yeah. No, the opportunities are there.
Good question right there. How long has it been since you've raised your prices?
Oh no, last month.
See,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because that to me is one of the biggest problems. Most companies have set pricing and they're like, I can't raise my prices. I'll lose customers.
Well, you don't have dinner with my wife, who constantly tells me the insurance went up, the gas went up, the medical went up, and this is during dinner.
There you go. Everything's gone up. Why aren't you charging more?
Why aren't you charging more?
Yes.
But I do take her advice, and I do gotta be cognizant of how much I can charge my clientele. So there's a balance there. I can't just raise everything 30%, because then that would cost me.
And I understand that, but one good thing that I found when it came to talking to my customers, because we'd normally raise our price around 15%, something like that.
Right.
And, if they ever ask questions about, I'm like, guys, look, the cost of living has gone up everywhere. And they're like, yeah, but it shouldn't for you. Well, I understand that, but my plumbers need to make more money in order to pay for their cost of living going up. And I can't do that if I don't raise prices. And besides that, our plumbers are trained. We invest in education for them.
Yes.
We invest in equipment. They have health care. They have insurance. They have whatever
vehicles,
it is.
My vehicles are red. That's a $60,000 or $70,000 vehicle empty.
Robert Melko, the first time I heard him speak, said, when I hire a new plumber, I buy a new van. He said, I spend $100,000.
That's it.
On the van and everything going in it. It's a $100,000 vehicle. And that is their warehouse on wheels ready to go.
And you're putting somebody in who needs to be trained, and that costs also more money, so it's a huge investment. And the average homeowner, all he looks at is, oh, he was only in here for 20 minutes. Okay, but what about what it took to teach him to do that job in 20 minutes? Or should I send somebody slower
that they could take
for
4 hours and we'll do it
you.
for time and material?
Exactly.
Now, are y'all set up through flat rate pricing, or y'all's T&M? Or
some we do some flat rate, some T&M. I'm continuing to get away from the T&M a little bit every day, and that's also part of what I'll be doing with some of these service providers here that I want to interview and get me away from that, because it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth.
And Joe, I love that. The service providers you're going to interview.
Yeah.
A lot of people just get sold.
No. I have a checklist.
No, I love that. Explain a little bit about your checklist. What are you looking for?
Oh, I want it to be ease of use. I want it to be a Wi-Fi capability, so the text. I want it to tie into our QuickBooks back in the office, and I want to be able to give the techs an easy format to present to the homeowner what they're doing and what the expected cost is going to be. So I tried to work on a manual one 2 years ago and custom design it, and I wasted a year. I couldn't do it.
It's kind of hard to do.
Impossible.
And the good thing is that there's so many companies out there with great software that literally you can tell them, here's our hourly rate.
Yeah.
Here's what we base everything on. They plug it in, and 5 minutes later, they can print you a dozen copies.
Some of them will actually take some of my numbers and help me determine my hourly rate, which is part of the interview process. Don't just ask my number. Help me determine that number.
No, and I love that because of the best practice groups that I was in, where it's literally you come in and, I feel sorry for these companies that start out and say, look, I'm going to be the cheapest plumber in town, and I'm going to get all the work. Yeah. You are. You're going to get more work than you want, but it's not going to be the right customer.
No, that's right. And that's often the client you don't want.
Yeah.
That's, or the client that doesn't pay. And he goes, I'm such a good customer. I call you all the time. But if you don't pay, that's not a client that I want.
And then when you do get a good plumber that comes along that maybe knows you, knows about you, has seen your work in the past, things like that, you can't afford to hire that good plumber because you're not charging enough that you're not making enough to say, look, we can do that.
Yeah, no, we used to call them the bottom feeders. This is one of the fellas that I used to be, and I know you can't get him on camera.
Hunter Botto.
Hunter
exactly.
Botto was one of the fellas that I met at that first chapter meeting, and I listened to this man for years before we became best friends. And I would listen to him talk about the way he ran his business and his costs and his pricing, and that's how I developed some of the perfections for my business. That's why I love him to death.
No, he's a great guy. I got to meet Hunter when we were fighting for our license in Texas.
In Texas, yes.
He came down, was on the steps of the Capitol with us. The relationships that you make in organizations like this are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they're lifelong relationships. It's not just, wow, I met this guy a year ago. I never talked to him or anything like that. When I meet people here, they're like, hey, can I get your contact information? It's like, absolutely.
Sure.
And we're sharing contact information. And I mean, even last night I was getting texts saying, hey, I got a question. How do you do this? Or if I wanted to do this, what should I do? And it's just, it's a great thing.
It is, yeah.
You're stepping down as president in 2 days.
Tomorrow.
This video is sponsored by High Level. We've partnered up with High Level because we believe this is the best all-in-one sales and marketing platform to help you grow your business. For your 30-day free trial, go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield. What do you do after that? Because I unless she's telling you, look, you're walking away from PHCC, we're going to take a break for a while. What do you do after that?
I've already thrown myself into trying to do some. I want to try and do a job to help connect the PHCC chapters with national. We used to have a training program in place, and as I traveled the country this year, I kept hearing, what does national do and what are they doing? So training of the people coming into these associations, the chapter presidents, the account execs, their boards, that's kind of what I want to do. So that's my target for next year. And of course, SkillsUSA, I really want to get involved with SkillsUSA.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
That's a great organization.
So I'm done, but I'm not completely done.
Well, that's good.
Never done.
Yeah, you can never be done. I mean, I don't know how long ago Hunter Botto walked away, but he's still here.
He plays a lot more golf than me, but he hasn't gotten better than me.
He's got
yet.
a heck of a tan. I mean, he said he sold the company, sold the boat, got a condo.
Yep.
He doesn't even mow the yard anymore.
Traveling around the country.
It's a tough life. It's a tough life.
Yes.
So we're here at PHCC Connect 2024, special edition of the Trade Talks. And it's a great thing to be here and see this and be associated with all this. Next year is in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yes.
I'm assuming you'll probably be there.
I am looking forward to it.
I accidentally went to Grand Rapids one day, but it's a whole nother story. Connect, bringing all these contractors from around the nation together to spend, I'm going to say a week. The event's a couple of days. People come in early, people stay late. There's always things going on. And there's always the apprentice competition. So there's amazing things here. What is your favorite thing about Connect and why companies should invest in not only coming to this, but bringing some of their people with them?
Networking is huge. The networking has been just one of the things. I could walk around from the booths and recognize people and shake hands and how you been. And so it helps me going forward because if I have a problem with a product, I go right to the top.
And they're here.
And they're here. And I take those contacts home with me. So I don't have to start with the tech support. I'll go right up to the middle management
Absolutely.
with questions. So that's really helped me a lot. The advocacy has been a big part of my PHCC challenge, working with Mark Valentini in our legislative branch. And that benefits the entire chapters across the country, what we're doing there. So we had our PAC event last night, and we get to try and tell Congress the right way to do things, because a lot of times they don't do it the right way. So
and it's really neat because, I mean, a lot of people don't even know, and I didn't discover this until Texas started fighting for their plumbing license.
Yeah, you mentioned it, yeah.
How political our trade is, or how political it's got to be, because, we've either got national certifications, we've got state licenses, we've got things like that, and believe it or not, politicians control all that.
I wrote an article and I said that Congress gets a 5-minute briefing, they check with party leadership, and they cast a vote that directly affects our livelihoods. So we've done a lot of inroads to try and get in that formula before they go cast that vote. And you mentioned Todd Allred from Washington State.
You bet.
He wears
Great guy.
He wears an Abe Lincoln hat
His
when he
top
goes to the
hat,
Capitol Hill.
absolutely.
And they all remember him. And he gets phone calls now at home asking him, can you speak to this group of people for this particular issue? And we're soon becoming, and very quickly becoming, the experts, the go-to source for information regarding a lot of these issues. And I saw that in Quebec City. I saw that in Washington, D.C., and that's a nice feeling that we are the experts. Now they're coming to ask us the questions.
So one thing I want to ask you about, we're getting to about the time limit here. I've always had this idea of a national MEP board. And I think somebody like PHCC is the one who can get behind it because they're already nationwide. They've already got state organizations, the national organization, everything together. And we were talking about this the other night, and somebody made me think about it because there's a lot of states that still don't have licenses.
New York is one of them.
A lot of states that have licensing problems where they're taking away licensing.
Huge problem.
The state controls how much money people can make, how many apprentices a company can have. I mean, things that, to me, that's none of their business. We've got a job to do. We're a company. We're trying to take care of our customers.
Yeah.
And when I hear stuff like that, it gets under my skin. I'm like, a state controlling how many apprentices a company can have based on how many plumbers they have and things like that, it makes no sense to me whatsoever, especially since they spend 5 minutes reading a brief and say, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to make a decision about your license or your career.
After I check with party leadership.
Yeah. And luckily for me, I'm smart enough. I literally called my representative, Angie Chen Button, in Dallas.
Yeah.
When we were fighting for our license, the night that they had the vote on the floor, she calls me at 11 o'clock, getting ready to go for the second vote. She says, Roger, I'm calling to let you know I'm still voting the way you want me to vote. And there's people telling me this is not best for plumbers. I said, don't you believe what they're telling you?
Yes.
They're telling you what's best for them. I'm the plumber telling you what's best for plumbers.
Well, we're the ones that are out there. And you know, we were talking about some of these energy changes that are coming through.
Yeah, on the water heaters.
And water heaters, yeah. I was listening to Bradford White. I'm the one that has to walk into your home
and tell you why it's going to cost you a ton of money.
And sell you this product and service this product and get the phone call if that product's not performing. So that's why we have a lot of voices in this industry that are trying to correct that. It's a tough road. Nationally, it's a very tough road because the states are so fragmented. But we're taking on each battle one at a time, and we're not giving up.
Well, and I love what y'all do. I love the advocacy for the trades.
Yes.
It's something that a lot of tradespeople don't even realize is out there.
How important
it's necessary, and it is. It affects each of our lives each and every day. And I don't just mean me as a tradesperson with a license. I mean, every customer that I have, what these laws and new licenses and all this
regulations
affects them every single day. And they need to learn to call their representatives, call their advocacy council, whoever's taking care of them, and saying, hey, look, I literally sat right here on the stage yesterday and talked to the president of Texas. We disagree on FaceTime being able to be allowed as direct supervision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I can't get enough plumbers. If I've got an apprentice that I know can do a good job and I can send him out to repair a toilet and he can literally point his phone and say, wait, which one is the flapper, the thing sticking up or the thing that flaps?
Yeah.
And I can direct him through it. Number one, if he doesn't know that, I'm probably not sending him out anyway. But I mean, I think that with modern technology, we've got to look at how we can use every tool there to help us do our jobs better.
I'm going to quote our friend Todd Allred again. If you're not if you're not at the table, you're at the menu.
Yeah, boy, and that's the truth.
Just so true. So we're it's challenging in New York. We tried to get a state license for 20 years, and every time we got close, somebody was voted out of office or arrested. So it was a very challenging. And I
think Pennsylvania just took theirs away.
They're 20 years trying to get one. Oregon
just took theirs away. I'm listening to them talk about it. I'm like, how?
So there's conversations now to try and establish a state license. And I'm going to give them all my notes, and I'm going to say, lots of luck.
Yeah, I think
if you need
every
me, I'm
state
there.
should have one.
I know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, Joe, this has been fantastic.
Awesome.
Again, tell
Yeah.
everybody who you are and what you do.
Joseph Cornetta. I am the outgoing president of PACC National.
Pleasure to have you here
Been a
today.
blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
for your
sir.
time. Thank you.